Thank you all for coming. We're going to talk today about why our field is so stalled. And USA Today said that advertising is the poster child for the death of diversity. Ouch. Like, as a creative person, that really hurts. Because we're supposed to be one of the most progressive industries. We challenge our clients to take risks and think differently, and then we are stuck. Why would an industry of ingenuity be steeped in sameness? It seems like it's a non sequitur. However, I've been doing this asking ever since, as Mary said, I looked at that 3% number and it just stumped me as a creative person, as a businesswoman, living in Silicon Valley, working with a lot of startups. It just didn't make sense. So I have been doing road shows throughout America on behalf of the 3% conference. And at each road show, I pick up another thread, another piece, another nuance by somebody's life experience or somebody's comment about what their agency is doing or trying. And in addition to that, there have been 2 national conferences for 3% in San Francisco. And I also am an advisor at the Clayman Institute, which is at Stanford University where I live in Palo Alto. It's a think tank for gender research. I didn't even know such a thing existed, so how awesome to find it in my backyard. So I advise with them. All of these things are just to show you who I am and where I come from. Originally, I'm an advertising person like all of you, a creative director. But I got curious about something. I also am an advisor to Misrepresentation, and they have, I don't know how many of you have seen their documentary, Misrepresentation? Okay, I see some hands. They have a new documentary coming out called The Mask You Live In, about hypermasculinity and how that also doesn't serve our world. So I consult with them. And then lastly, the Commission on the Status of Women, another who knew it. San Francisco has a Commission on the Status of Women at City Hall. It's the only city in the entire country that has such a thing. So I'm also advising with them. So everything I'm going to share today is literally just what I have picked up from this experience. So let's start. What I did when I first became really curious about that 3% number is I did a ton of research. And I just Googled my heart out to find out, why does this persist? And believe it or not, there are people who study this, advertising professors, that write research papers on this. So I hooked up with some of them, read their research, started talking to people, read op-ed pieces. And basically what it comes down to is death by 1,000 paper cuts. And what I mean by that is that there are so many small things that work against diversity in advertising. There's not one sweeping thing that needs to be changed. And I actually think that's really good news, because a lot of times when I talk about diversity in agencies, people say, well, that's just the way it is, or we've always done it that way, or how could we retrain clients? And if you think differently and think about, if it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts, then the healing should also be 1,000-fold. So the focus of the 3% movement is gender diversity, is the lack of women. However, diversity of all kinds is abysmal in our industry and shameful. And I'm going to talk today about my movement, but I want to tell you that everything I'm sharing applies to diversity of all kinds and should be looked at holistically. Who is making the ads in our industry? 97% of creative directors are men. We actually have some new research we're going to be releasing. That number has gotten better in terms of how many women are represented, which is also optimistic. But right now, it's 97%. 90% of female consumers say that advertisers don't understand them. That is another ouch for anyone that works as a creative director, a creative person, art director, strategic planner, account management. Ouch! 90% of a consumer segment saying, you're not speaking to me, you're not connecting with me, we're not doing our job. And $7 trillion is at stake if you look at the female market. That is not a small amount of money. So, I wrote a piece in Communication Arts that got a lot of commenting, sharing, which was gratifying. And this was the title of it. And what's really amazing is that part of the research I did, there have been a lot of studies done where they look at how people problem solve. And if you take a group of people that are all the same in some way, even if those people are higher thinkers, higher IQ people to start with, They will not solve problems as well as a diverse group of thinkers. That kind of makes sense when you take it apart, because problem solving is about looking at every potential way that something could be mastered, addressed. And if you have one group of people that are largely the same, they're probably going to have a lot of the same thinking patterns, cultural references, life experiences. So a diverse group of people, even if they're not, and I am not saying that they're not, but even if they're not the highest problem-solving thinkers, are going to be better problem solvers when they're put together. So I want to say, and I say this at every roadshow, at every 3% conference, and I just want to kind of head this off at the pass. 2 important caveats. Number 1 is men absolutely can market to women masterfully. I have written blog posts about campaigns I've seen that I have fallen in love with that came from teams of men. Conversely, women are not necessarily doing it well just because they're women. However, 97% of anything, fill in the blank with anything, is groupthink. Uniformity leads to mediocrity because of that research study I just talked about. If you have a group of people that are too uniform, they're going to tend to have similar output. And really what's good for outcome? Otherness. And that's why 97% anything. Every once in a while, I'll speak at a roadshow and people will hold up their hand and say, well, our creative department is all women. And what do you think I tell them? That's a problem. That is not the answer. 97%, 100%, 90%, not the answer. So before we talk about marketers, which is us, the media makers, let's just look at the market. Women are the majority of the workforce for the first time in history. They control spending in all but 3 categories. I want you guys to guess what those 3 categories are. I hear automotive, pharmaceuticals, shopping, like retail, alcohol, cigarettes. None of you are right. The 3 categories that men dominate are online auctions, music, and computer hardware. That's it. Just let that sink in for a second. So it's so amazing to me. There are all these marketing to women agencies, one of which I own in Palo Alto. And I almost feel like it's backwards. There should be marketing to men agencies because they are not the superset. Women are the superset. Men are the subset. And I'm just talking about consumer buying. Women also drive social media usage. This is what makes it so mystifying that so many of the social media companies don't have women on their boards or women well represented in their leadership. Women not only use every single social media platform in excess of men, with one exception. Anyone? What one social media platform do men dominate? LinkedIn. Who said it? Gold star. And you know what's sad about that? Doesn't that speak volumes about part of why women don't get ahead in advertising is because they don't seek the spotlight. And there's a lack of visibility for female talent. LinkedIn is a place where you actually showcase who you are and what you've done and your accomplishments. And men are using LinkedIn in excess of women. We've already established that women are the majority of the workforce, so it's not that more men are in the workforce. Then also, by 2030, women are expected to control 2/3 of the wealth in this country. 2/3 of the wealth. So, I want all of you to banish the term women's account from your vocabulary. If you hear someone use that term in a meeting, even a client, speak up. There are no women's accounts. What's sad is that we think there are, and we put women on what I call mops and makeup, household cleaning supplies, cosmetics, and think everything else is a guy account. So diversity is not some things we might think it is or that the press might suggest it is. Diversity is not charity. Diversity is not affirmative action, and it's not even expensive. What it is tied to a better creative output. It's reflective of society, and it's a badge of relevance. And I want to talk about that for a second. One of the road shows we did was in Los Angeles. Deutsch hosted us in Los Angeles. And Kim Getty, the president of Deutsch, told a story about when they were going in to pitch the HP account. They were the last ad agency doing their pitch. Four agencies throughout the day, and Deutsch came in as the last one. They filed their team in, and Meg Whitman, the CEO, looked up, looked at their team, and said, "What the hell is wrong with advertising that you people have no female leadership?" And for every Meg Whitman that says that, there are countless other clients that say nothing, but they notice. They know who their customers are, and they know that a creative team that looks nothing like the marketplace is not going to optimize their results. Another thing, we just posted to the 3% blog this morning a piece about conferences. And I don't know if you guys can read this, but it says the cycle of tech conference planning. Step 1, announce your conference speaker lineup. Step 2, get criticized for having mostly all white males. Step 3, hastily tweet that you'll be announcing more speakers soon. Step 4, find a few women, people of color, who will now feel like second-class speakers. Step 5, hold your conference, immediately forget all the lessons you've learned. And step 6, start planning next year's conference. This just happened last week, and we wrote about it on our blog this morning. The Wall Street Journal is having a tech conference. I live in Silicon Valley. And they announced their speakers, 17 speakers. They're all men, not a single woman. So I sent them an email, and I said, I'm a conference planner. I live in Silicon Valley. This is unacceptable. And they wrote me this exact email back. Our speaker lineup isn't finished yet. To which I sent them the link to this graphic and said, that is a spoof. You are a spoof of this phenomenon. So, the takeaway. Diverse talent is out there. Women are less visible and under-celebrated. And agency environments prize outdated ways of working. This is something that I haven't really talked about yet. But one of the things that keeps not just women, but a lot of people from staying in advertising is the way we work. And what I mean by that is that, especially in the creative department, we prize people that have bragging rights for working all night long, what I call vampire hours. For some reason, we think that the idea that came to someone at 2 a.m. in the war room is better than the idea that might have occurred to someone while they were out jogging, swimming, driving, sleeping, anything but in the walls of the office. And what that does is it creates an atmosphere of fear, where you feel that if you have any life outside the office, where you have a hard stop or a train to catch or a nanny to relieve or a dog to walk or an aging parent to care for or a triathlon to train for, you feel you'll be penalized because you're failing by the one thing we seem to value, which is that I'll give everything to the agency. Arianna Huffington has a brand new book out. Have any of you read it? It's called Thrive. I just picked it up yesterday at Barnes & Noble. I had heard her speak in San Francisco. She absolutely is questioning this, especially on behalf of women. She's saying that not only are we killing ourselves, but it doesn't even translate into success at work. So we're losing our families, or we're leaving an industry we loved right when we're most valuable to that industry, all in trying to show some kind of level of, commitment to our work that is untenable. This is the thing that I feel like I get the most pushback from. Well, that's just the way it is. Well, clients expect it. Well, if we don't do it, someone else will. We have to have this conversation, and we have to invite our clients to have it with us. Because somehow we have landed in a place where we feel that the only way we can show our worth to our clients is by killing ourselves. Literally, that copywriter in Asia killed herself working 32 hours, killed herself, died, 31 years old or something. And we're not even giving our clients great work as a result of that. So are there any clients in here? Anyone up from the client side? I feel like this is the one thing that the 3% movement needs help, and we need your help on. Everything I'm doing, this entire mission, everything is in service of the clients. We are doing this so that they can succeed with their customers. They have not been a big enough presence in this movement, and they need to. And this is the thing, this is the conversation that agencies need to have with their clients. How are we going to have a relationship together that's fruitful for you, that doesn't kill our people, that allows us to retain mothers and fathers and people that have lives outside of our agency? How are we going to structure that together? What does that look like? That's a conversation that has to happen. So, ask yourself, if I were a woman, would I want to work at my agency? That might start by you going to your agency's About Us page, the team, the leadership. It might start with you looking at the leave behind at the last pitch. Who did they put forward as, this is who we are? The 3% conference was an idea that happened a long time ago for me, and I didn't execute against it, but it happened for me when I worked at Hal Riney and Partners. And my agency pitched the Saab car account with 16 men and 1 woman. And I watched that whole thing happen in slow motion. I was not the 1 woman, by the way. They didn't get the piece of business. And even at that youthful age I was at then, I knew there was something very, very wrong with how they had represented our agency to a car account from Sweden about who buys cars. So if you were a woman, would you want to work at your agency? Audit yourself. What's the male-female breakdown in your agency? Agencies are starting to take an inventory and no one's showing their cards. Who were your last 10 promotions? That tells you how you are recognizing talent or how you're defining talent. Do you have male teams and female teams? This is something I hear a lot. They put women together, they put men together. Diverse teams, better thinking, men and women, old and young, different. What work are you submitting to award shows? Are you submitting from all of the teams? Are you submitting from only the hotshot teams? How are you going to know where the talent is if you never expose it to light? If you're a guy, and I am so psyched to see the men in the audience here, be a manbassador. That's a new team that means a guy that understands that gender diversity is good for everyone and speaks up about it. Be gender bilingual. If you understand the differences between men and women, you have a better chance of communicating with 100% of your clients' customers and sidestepping that 90% figure of women saying, advertisers just don't connect to me. And model from the top. This is not an HR problem. Diversity is not a line item. Diversity needs to be something that your entire leadership speaks up about, models, embraces, blogs about, speaks at conferences about. It has to be a value of your entire company. And ask for help. You guys will see on your chairs 50 things. There's a great story behind this. So about a week before our last 3% conference, we were finalizing our program, which we do. It's a book. It's a really nice, substantial piece. And at the very last minute, I thought something's missing. And I put together this spread that's sitting on your chairs that we put in the middle of our program. 50 things your agency can do right now to drive the 3% number up. I literally sat down at my computer and wrote this list a week before the conference. A lot of the takeaways, again, are things I picked up, nuances that I picked up at the road shows, and I attribute them where I can to the different creative directors or people that made the comment. We've had so much traction around this list that we're actually going to do a hashtag called 50 Things. Any industry where people are stalled, any type of people, can have a 50 things list. And it can be 100 things. We can all contribute to it. Challenge your agency. How many of these things are you doing? How many could you be doing? Make a goal. Be committed. Write about it on your blog. State publicly what you're hoping to do. Keep yourself honest. So the answers are micro actions, and that's what these things are. Remember I said a death by 1,000 paper cuts? These are the 1,000 Band-Aids. These are the ways you address those pain points. I'm going to just go through a few of them so you get a flavor of what they are. So how many female creative directors are in the room right now? 1, 2, 3, myself, 4. Okay. I challenged the female creative directors at the 3% conference to pledge to judge just 1 award show a year. And last year I did 2. And the reason this is important is that award shows, first of all, thank you to the Art Directors Club for their 50/50 initiative, which I hope all of you know about. What a courageous thing, what an awesome thing, what a timely thing. Basically, they challenged all the other award shows to have 50% female judges. It's harder to find female judges. There are fewer of us. We have reluctance often to leave home. Nancy Hill said it best, women are the last to commit and the first to cancel. But women are out there, and they're realizing that if they don't show up and judge, we're going to see that Wall Street Journal lineup of all men. And then guess what? The work that gets awarded is more appealing to a male sensibility. So those people become the hot ticket names, and they get promoted, and they get to become judges, and it never ends. Women have to be judging at award shows. And with all of the digital awards now, a lot of the judging can be done from home. So don't let that be a deterrent if you have difficulty traveling or getting out of town. Host improv sessions. Another thing, presentation skills. Portfolio schools are graduating greater numbers of women than men. And what I'm really hoping they're teaching those young women and men is presentation skills. If you're a great creative thinker and you can't sell your work or deflect criticism from a client, it doesn't get produced. Being a great salesperson of your own thinking is just as important of a talent as a creative. If you have creatives in your agency that are uncertain, that are nervous about public speaking, improv has been shown to be one of the best ways to get people to have that courage and confidence. Do it during lunch, do it once a month, or have people present their work just to the agency when the stakes are low. But build that confidence, especially in your young female leaders. Start a co-ed women's initiative. And the reason I say co-ed is that there are too many women's groups that are women getting together to talk about women. And until, again, model it from the top, until everyone is bought in, nothing changes. It becomes an echo chamber. Mentor, mentor, mentor. Men, mentor the young women. It's really sad that a lot of men say that they think it can look unsavory to mentor a young female in their department. People might wink at them. Get over it. Do it anyway. Those women need your help. And women, mentor the young women. You have a perspective they need to hear. And then think about things like MAPE. How many of you are familiar with MAPE? Awesome. Multicultural Advertising Intern Program. Did I get that right? Yes? Okay. This is something I wasn't aware of until I started 3%. It's an amazing program, and their alumni program is its own engine. Hire a summer intern or few through there. The timing is right to do that. That's why I put it on the list. So these are 5. There are 45 others on that list, and probably countless others you can think of. This is how change happens. So that is the end of me explaining to you what this movement is about. I'm very curious to hear your questions, to hear your experiences, your stumbling blocks, your rays of hope in your agencies. So there's 2 microphones at each aisle. Please share your thoughts with the crowd. Yes.
Hi, I'm Danielle, and I'm not quite in the industry yet. I'm a student at SCAD in Atlanta. And I really wanted to ask a question in regards to the school aspect of it. I know as a student who's studying advertising, even in the classroom, I tend to kind of shirk back and be apologetic for my decisions and tend to step out the spotlight, even to let like a male classmate who would less in number like take the spotlight. And I know I'm guilty of it. I'm aware that I do it. And I was just wondering if the 3% conference is doing anything at all to, I don't know, help or spread the message in schools, because I think it starts there. And like I said, I'm guilty of it too.
Yes. Well, you're here and you're at the microphone. Can we all say that that's total awesomeness, right? All right, I want to tell you a story that I'll bet you're going to find really hard to believe. I started my career here in New York City. My very first job, ironically, was at USA Today. Here I launched with that quote from USA Today. And I worked for this kick-ass woman who was a salesperson in ad sales. And I used to help her get ready to go give her presentations. And so I'd put together all the media kits and I'd be like, oh, wow, there's going to be 20 people in the room. Aren't you scared? She's like, no, I'm not scared. Finally, she realized I was petrified and I was never going to grow into her role. So she sent me to a Dale Carnegie public speaking class. And at the first night at the Dale Carnegie class, all you had to do was stand up and state your name out loud, and I almost left the building. I remember literally my knees were knocking. I was petrified of public speaking. Hello? It's desensitization. That's all it is. Improv, all of these things are about opportunities for you to flex the muscle. So you getting up to that microphone is exactly what you need to be doing. Keep doing it. Any other questions? Yes. Hi.
Going.
Good.
Okay, so the other day I was actually at a conference that was addressing a similar issue, and Cindy Gallup prescribed having at least 3 women on a board in order to actually make a change. And I'm wondering, how do you feel about that number, and how do you feel about having kind of that specific prescription towards creating that change with your micro actions?
I think I know exactly why she said that, and I support it. If you only have one woman in a group, she's like the rare peacock in the zoo. She's the different one. And they've studied that she's not going to be as great as she can be because she always feels like she's being looked at as the woman. That number 3 has what they've shown through research to be where everyone in the room stops seeing people by their gender and just sees them as team members. That's what we want, so I support that. And you know what, I don't mind when things are prescriptive because that helps. Agencies are starving for a roadmap, starving. And we are all the ones to make the suggestions to how it should be different. So I like it when there's something very kind of definite like that.
Thank you.
Sure. Yep, can you come up to the mic? Hello.
Hi. So I work actually a little bit outside of the agency space, but I represent a lot of creative agencies, and where there are some phenomenal female leaders and executives. And the one thing that I've noticed, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on, are there are organizations that exist that are theoretically supposed to represent the agency world, you know, like large global organizations. In terms of working with them and through them, I guess my question is, has that already begun? And if so, where? I've had a few individual conversations, and I don't want to name names, but they seem to each separately be trying to do something. And I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way for it to be less local, in a sense, and connect these dots, because there's a lot of separate conversations happening. All good, but just wondering if there's some way we could make greater impact collectively.
So are you referring to like ANI and the 4As and other
And the ADC
initiative?
correct. And
Yeah.
I hear a lot of wonderful ideas, and I also see that it's slow in garnering the agency community to get engaged with their plans.
Right. So I think one of the things I loved about the Art Director Club's initiative is that they used it to challenge others to join them. And so it became this rally cry that brought together and unified lots of disparate groups. So I think you're right that there needs to be more of that. And you know, when I started the 3% conference, there was a part of me that felt kind of ridiculous. Like people would say, well, who's behind you? And I'm like, well, it's really just me. But in a way, there was a purity to that, because some of these organizations are so big and so steeped in tradition, or they have sponsors that they have to answer to, or there was a real freedom to, you know what, I'm going to start this movement, and the 4As was a founding partner of our movement. So I think there are some smaller, more grassroots people like myself and 3% and other things will maybe enable and bring together all those groups in ways that make sense. But I think you're absolutely right. And it's great we're all having these conversations, but not in isolation.
Well, I look forward to seeing how it evolves. But
Thank you.
good stuff. Thanks.
All right.
Hi, Kat. Thank you so much. It was really terrific. I'm Mary Warlick. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the One Club, and I have to correct one thing about the initiative. I'm a woman. I'm head of a major organization advertising in New York. And last fall, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my colleague, Kevin, who's male, gets a call from the director of the Art Directors Club, and he says, come over here quick. We're doing a press conference. We're doing a 50-50 and 50%. And so we went over there and we talked about it. I said, you know, like, I'm a woman, I'm in the press, people know me. Why didn't you reach out to me to explain this initiative? And there's a big press conference, and they, you know, tricked out the whole Art Directors Club and, you know, did photos and everything. The One Club and the One Show walks the walk. We don't just talk the talk. We do have 50% on our juries. We had like 10 juries. We had jury chairs that were women. You know, I feel a little bit defensive because we we were cited as one of the few organizations who didn't join this movement. My colleague and I had a breakfast with the head of the D&AD, British Designers Art Director Club. They said, Mary, we can't do this, you know, we can't do this right now. We've talked to Can's not doing it either. I mean, I put the one show up there with Can and D&AD, and we didn't do this as a press, stunt, but we did have diverse juries. We had people of color on all our juries. We had women on all our juries. And I just really felt that I had to, before it's always cited in the press that the one show is the one show that didn't join this movement. I mean, I applaud the idea of 50-50, but I would rather do it internally rather than a press release saying we're going to do it.
Right,
So
right.
That's just my 2 cents worth.
No, and you know what? I'm glad you stepped forward and stated that. What's important is that everyone's having the conversation.
Sure.
I mean, I was here in town for Creative Week last year, and the Clios had just announced their juries, and it was very heavy on the male side. This was before the 50-50 initiative.
And who are the Cleos?
Mary Warlick.
Anyway, it's
Meow.
it's all in good
Okay.
fun, and we're really,
All right.
really happy
Yes.
to be able to host these
Well,
things.
Our community, the 3% community, took them to the mat. I mean, this is the beauty of social media, is that people can organize, can mobilize, can amplify. There was nowhere for them to hide. And guess what? They've made an enormous stride in their, so we're all moving in the right direction. And I agree with you. There are some things that are done for press, and sometimes you need that level of kind of ta-da-ness to get, but as long as everyone's working. And actually, I'm actually going to Con to speak. They have a brand new initiative called See It, Be It to try to create more visibility for female leaders in advertising. All of these things are related. I really believe they are. And so I'm speaking on a panel there. So it's all good.
Spread the word. Thank you.
Spreading the word. All right. Yes, yay, a male question.
Hi, first off, I wanted to say thank you. I think you have a lot of great things to say about the benefits of diversity in idea creation. I was curious what your views are on diversity in execution, factors that the audience actually sees, things like casting and character portrayal that could be used to break down like gender, racial, and cultural norms.
Yeah.
Like progressing the dialogue.
Absolutely. I mean, I am talking about one piece of a very large puzzle, and it's all the same. In fact, I wrote recently about, I think it was Fox or one of the networks got written up in the news that they had more female actresses playing lead roles and more women of color in lead roles than ever before. And I left a comment on the piece and I said, that's awesome, but if they're just narrating lines that are all penned by white guys and it's all storylines that isn't reflective of their lives, then we haven't solved for it. So you're right, it's female directors, it's female music composers, it's everything. And they're out there. And so we have to find them. We have to work harder to find them.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Ashley. So it sounds like you're doing road shows and you're going to San Francisco, but I live in London and just wondering, I think you probably need to go over there and have a chat.
Yeah.
Lots of men. I recruit for creatives actually, so I try to find as many women as possible, and I'm not eliminating them at interview. They're just hard to find. So just curious if you're going to make your way over there.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest in bringing the 3% movement all over the world. So before I speak at Con, I'm actually speaking in Stockholm. And I kind of that was my foray into, I want to just kind of see what it's like there. And then next year I would love to bring a road show to London and other cities. So we should talk.
Cool.
And where's your accent, by the way?
Well, I'm from the West Coast, but I think I'm starting to sound like a Brit. I hope not. But yeah, let's
all right.
talk.
Well, we should talk. Okay. Other questions? Anyone? Yes.
Hi, Kat. Great presentation. We met just a little while ago. I'm Jim Wojtowicz from the Academy of Art University, and I recently got a new title there. I've been teaching there, but I have a title that they're giving me, Director of Industry Outreach.
Oh.
I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on how to, we're looking to contemporize the curriculum there, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on ways to do that concerning everything you're talking about.
Yeah. First of all, I'm so glad you asked that question. I received an email recently, and I'm not going to say who it was from because I felt it was a personal appeal from someone kind of in your situation at another university. And they were wondering whether or not they should appoint this vacancy to a woman since they had so many female students coming through their program. And I first thought that was awesome that he reached out to me. Again, I'm not an expert, but here's where I've been, steeping my imagination for the last few years. And what I said to him was exactly what you said. I said, I think your whole curriculum needs to shift to address what it takes to be a great creative director for 20 years, for men and women. What does it look like? If we teach you just to be a creative thinker and we don't tell you where the world is headed and the skills you're going to need and what the pitfalls are and how you can be an agent of change and how to speak up for yourself, those are the things I think ad schools need to talk about. And I would love to even just maybe co-author a piece about what that would look like. James Cooper was here this morning from Adweek, and he and I talked, and he's an awesome guy, always looking for new ways to surface different voices. So that might be something we could write together. Like, what are ad schools teaching and what do they need to be teaching to be useful for the next 20 years in advertising?
Okay, terrific. Thank you so much.
Cool, sure. Anyone?
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Via, and I'm a student at University of the Arts in London. And I was doing my first internship in January, and I came into the office or the agency, and it was just all men. And I was sat by the table, the planning table, and it was me and 7 guys just sitting around me. And I'm not really the one who's shy, and I was trying really hard to, share my ideas and everything. But I still felt that, no matter how much you put yourself forward, they kind of still look down on you a bit. So I'm just thinking, what else can you do? You can speak up and, show your work and be on LinkedIn and all of that. But if
Right.
all of that is not working,
Then you go to another agency.
okay.
Because the 7 guys are not the problem, although they're not the answer. It's which 7 guys. So sounds like you're doing everything right. Keep doing it. You're the rare peacock in the zoo. They need more women. But if you don't feel you're being seen and appreciated, then change agencies. Because I actually think, it's funny, every once in a while someone will say, this is affirmative action and this is like affirmative action. And what I say is that if ever affirmative action should get employed in advertising and creative, men will be the beneficiaries. Because I actually think there's such awareness of how valuable the female perspective is right now. This is the best time to be a woman in advertising ever. So you have nothing to apologize for. And if they don't see the gift that you are and how valuable you are to connecting with a female-driven marketplace, a female-driven social media marketplace, female tech adoption, female wealth amassment, the list goes on, then they're not a strategic agency. One of the things I said earlier about the all-white men, it's starting to be not a badge of honor, but a mark of irrelevance. When I look at a brand new agency that's starting and it's a whole bunch of white guys standing there, you know what it's signaling to me and to potential clients and potential hires? They're completely out of touch. If they think that this is the best group of people to start a whole new enterprise, they've missed something so basic, and it makes them look really out of touch. So stay the course a while and then speak to London. You guys should talk. She says recruiting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
I'm rooting for you. All right, I think I'm down to 2 minutes, so maybe one more question.
This is very weird, but I just graduated with an MFA from Advertising of Art School in San Francisco.
Nice.
In December. And obviously I'm not young, but I'm trying to figure out, the diversity also goes to the young and the old.
Absolutely, ageism.
So you go into an agency that's only doing 3%. What is your opinion? I'm going to portfolio reviews tomorrow. What's a good starting point? What do you just sell yourself? And
Are you asking about ageism?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've been through everything. I've actually shopped everywhere. I've had kids. I've gone through the gamut, and you're just trying to break in at this age.
Right.
So.
We have a panel this fall called Ageism for this exact purpose, and someone wrote a piece on Medium, of all places, not an Ad Age, not an Ad Week, but an ad man wrote a piece on Medium about how the ageism in advertising also doesn't serve our clients for the exact reasons you just said. Not every product that's being sold is being sold to someone who's 23. In fact, if you look at the majority of customers we're trying to connect with, their life experiences, their cultural references, you probably have a greater fertile ground to draw from in connecting with those people than a young person, just because they haven't lived that many years. I also, quite frankly, I think there's something to be said for being a grown-up, and I'm not saying that at 23 you can't be a grown-up, but there's a poise and there's an experience and there's an ability to read the room and read people that you earn, and that can't be outsourced or shortcutted or, you know, online educated. Like, you just have to kind of do it. And so I'm excited for you. And yeah, and that's very courageous of you. So
Thank you.
terrific. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, 9 seconds. How awesome is that? If you want to blog for us, if you have anything to contribute, we are a community and we need you, including especially the men. So thank you.